and welcome to Verdictum. I am Ananya Singh and today we have with us Dr. Dnyaneshwar Mulay, also known as the Passport Man of India. Dr. Mulay joined the Indian Foreign Services in 1983 and has served as the High Commissioner of India to Maldives and also held the position of Consul General of India for New York, USA. And despite being in the Foreign Services for a great amount of time, Sir is still connected with his roots. Sir is also a celebrated author and has written over 15 books in many languages like Marathi, English, and Hindi. Sir is now a member of the National Human Rights Commission of India. And today he will highlight on various dimensions in which human rights form part and parcel of our lives and how the National Human Rights Commission safeguards these basic yet often considered inconsequential rights. Welcome to Verdictum, sir. It's an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you. Same here. I'm absolutely privileged to be able to speak to you. Thank you.
Sir, I'd like you to start with your own experiences first. You come from a very humble background, and even today, as we see it, not many people are aware as to what constitutes human rights. So, in your own life, as you were growing up, what kind of human rights violations did you encounter? Or what bothered you during your early days that can be termed as being a human rights violation?
Sure. I think I grew in a small village. My higher education was in a nearby district place, Kolhapur. I did my master's in Mumbai and then joined the Foreign Service in '83. This is broadly my journey before I came to the service. So, number one, there was no schooling. Right to education was, not available to us very easily. Number two, the resources, say, right to infrastructure. If I had to even go to a college or school, which is considered good, that choice was not there because one was not really that rich to afford going to a city and going to a private school. And number two, even that awareness was not there. Then say let's take right to water. We have seen our parents, particularly the mother and women folk in the house, going 2 kilometers every day to fetch water. Then there was inequality, very rampant poverty in the village. Most people did not have adequate resources. There are a lot of shortage of jobs, even though it was nothing compared to today because people were satisfied and happy in the village, whatever. And they in a sense were very fatalistic. Whatever God has given, they were happy. They were not conscious of their rights. They really did not have idea of duties, but they were doing their duties, performing their duties. So over a period of time, things changed quite a bit. I see the river in which I played, I swam, it's polluted now. The lake in my village from where our mothers and sisters and ourselves we used to fetch water, that has been contaminated because there is a piped water now. Electricity was not there earlier. Electricity has been there for some time now. The school has improved. There is a junior college in my village. There are very excellent schools, private schools in my village. So things have improved, and as things have improved, in some manner, we have also seen a decline. Earlier, there were no rights, but there were values. Today, there are rights, but values are declining. And in my view, good values really means good human rights. Human rights protection comes from having good values. So that is the change that I have seen. Inequality has not reduced, it has increased. Poverty may have reduced, but inequality has increased. That is the other thing. I see a lot of vehicular pollution even in my village and surrounding areas. The prices of agriculture have grown so much that villagers can't buy any more agricultural land. Outsiders are coming and buying huge parcels of lands, thereby encroaching on the innocent livelihood by giving people, the allurement of higher returns on their land. But once they lose their land, they will have temporary lots of money. But once that money is vanished, they will become paupers. So there are a lot of changes coming. Educational levels have improved. People have got, like from my village, at least there would be 1,000 youth who have gone out and working outside and sending money to the village. So economic level has also improved. Every household has a phone, mobile phone, computer, and in many cases cars also. So, but that does not necessarily mean people are living a happy life. Happiness index has declined considerably. People have become more greedy now. So the old type of happiness, even in poverty, does not exist in the new type of prosperity, even though people are more aware of their rights. So this is broadly how the, socio-economic changes have taken place. I have seen those happening in my childhood and subsequently.
So the United Nations made the declaration recognizing human rights back in 1948. And yet India could only implement that by a law as late as 1993. What do you think led to such delay for us?
Well, I don't think there was a delay per se. The United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, Universal Declaration, came in 1948, you are right. Our constitution, meanwhile, was taking shape, and all the values, all the guidelines, all the aspirations that are reflected in the UDHR, they are already reflected in our constitution. And subsequently, whether it is freedom, whether it is justice, whether it is equality, right of women. For example, right of voting to women came to Europe much after it came to India. In India, every adult was given the right to vote right from 1952. In America, the right of voting to blacks came only after 1960s. I'm putting this in perspective so that we know that, most of the principles enshrined in Universal Declaration of Human Rights were enshrined in our constitution. Yes, NHRC now was established in 1993 through a special act. So we can say that, it was delayed as compared to others in terms of, but today also, that there is no human rights national institution in USA. China does not have one. And there are many other countries who have established only such institution only through a executive order, not through a statute or act. That is a big difference. And then we have lots of subordinate acts, right to education, right to employment, right to food, right to dignity has been enshrined, all the fundamental rights are there. And subsequently, we'll come to your next point also, which is the right to, duties. So I think we have done well in terms of having the legal framework. What now need really is implementation, both literally and figuratively. Both are required, symbolically as well as practically. Implementation of human rights has to take place more effectively.
So would you agree that the awareness of human rights amongst the general public started when there were violations of the greatest degree that came to the public eye by media coverage? Like in 1981 Maya Tyagi case or Bhagalpur prisoners blinding case were major events that led people to think about the human rights violations. What do you think, where do you think we stand today in terms of awareness through media and the NHRC itself?
Well, NHRC has the mandate of both protecting and promoting human rights. What it means is NHRC is mandated to undertake awareness program. The incidents that you mentioned are absolutely right. They brought human right dimension for the first time in the public eye. But that doesn't mean, human rights were necessarily neglected or undermined by the state. Such incidents, shakes everyone. It shakes sometimes the conscience of the nation itself. Like, what happened in 2013 after the famous, rape case in Delhi. The entire spectrum changed. The law became stringent, punishment became stricter, and a lot of new changes came thereafter. More and more guidelines are there now about women, protection to women, their protection from sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse. These have come. So what happens is, it would be perhaps incorrect on our part if we think that human rights is a static thing. Human rights, the nature and the violations, they also change, in view of the changing times, in view of the changing technology, in view of the changing social mores, customs, trends. So media has played an excellent role in India, because media has been, in a sense, eyes and ears of human rights, I would say, documentation. And therefore, government has also, from time to time, taken various steps. I just mentioned about Nirbhaya case. But there are so many other things, like you had this Devadasi Pratha, on the border districts of Maharashtra and Karnataka, where women were devoted to the goddess, Yellamma. And in the name of that practice, they were sexually exploited. They were made completely dependent on men, rich men, and rich men kept them as rakhels. So this changed. A new law was enacted. Now that practice has been legally banned, even though it exists in a small way. Its practice has declined. So these are, as we go along and we notice with modern eyes the violations, and they are highlighted sometimes by social workers, civil society organizations, media, human rights champions. Government takes note, and then legislative process takes place, and important part is really implementation and how effectively we do that. And NHS, by the way, holds seminars, conferences. It goes to the universities. Next week we are going to Meghalaya, for example. In the last 1 year, we have been to Chennai, we have been to Tirupati, we have been to Mumbai, Ranchi, Raipur. All these places we have been to tell people about the importance of human rights, and engaging the civil society organizations, engaging the government of the day, engaging media. The idea is, and we are engaging youth through regular internships. So those who are listening to this conversation should apply for internship if they're interested. These are the internships go throughout the year, and there are 2 major internships in winter and summer. So please, let students who are interested in human rights join these internships.
I'm sure a lot of people would love to join hang on to this opportunity, sir.
You're welcome.
The next question I'd like to ask is that there is a shift in human rights now after the UN Declaration of Rights and Responsibility in 1998. Now, it is also the duty of an individual to not have such a conduct as to infringe the right of others. Articles 9 and 11 specifically deal with this. In this context, sir, do you think that the culture of paparazzi and causing obstructions or road blocking in general is a violation of another person's human rights?
See, it's like this. We have to see that rights and duties are the 2 sides of the same coin. If I have to, respect your human rights, I must not commit any violations of human rights. And this duty and rights have to be seen not as duty versus rights, but duty and right. And in fact, duties leading to rights. That's the correct way of looking at it. That's why in our constitution also we have a chapter entirely on duties of the citizens. And most people in India also emphasize only the rights. This is a bad tendency. Paparazzi certainly affects, the privacy of the other person. The moment it intrudes beyond, what we call public persona. Paparazzi, no one has the right to follow, others 24/7. Right to life gets affected, right to privacy gets affected. And similarly, blockages and strikes or lockouts, these have to be avoided. They are not banned, because ultimately right to express oneself comes through these things, and people must have a channel to express their dissatisfaction about organization or a government failure, inadequacy of the government, because ultimately government is the custodian of human rights of every citizen. Even Human Rights Protection Act that we have makes government responsible for protecting the human rights of every citizen. However, if people are not responsible, it's very difficult for government to implement human rights. So these are, as I said, this is the same two sides of the same coin. And therefore, earlier we used to refer to the duties as values also. Those values now have been termed as duties, because value is a very vague term. So values have now been concretized and enshrined in the Constitution. So we have to, as every citizen has a duty towards, following duty. That's our commitment to nation building.
Sir, recently the European Court of Human Rights passed a ruling in favor of the Princess of Monaco, who was aggrieved by the actions of the paparazzi. In India also, most recently, there was a case of infringement of privacy of Bollywood actor Alia Bhatt. How can the NHRC work in this regard, and what steps are being taken by the NHRC to make the public aware and educated about these rights and responsibilities?
Well, I think we must remember that NHRC acts within the overall legal framework of the country, Constitution being the main document, which decides all the parameters, do's and don'ts. Number two, there are courts, judicial courts, that decide to the extent of privacy that is allowed and not allowed, because ultimately, as you know, all the fundamental rights have a reasonable restriction. What that reasonable restriction has to be decided by the courts. However, if there is any case where a person feels hurt, violated on account of the person's right to privacy, they can approach to NHRC, and NHRC takes up such cases and holds the concerned government agency responsible and accountable. And if NHRC deems it necessary, then NHRC also awards a certain compensation to the victim and certain action. It recommends certain action against the government authority which has failed in its duty to protect the privacy.
And my last question to you, sir, would be that public bullying is against the concept of human rights as per Article 10 of the UN Declaration. While this term public does not only mean the person face to face with you, there is now cyberbullying, sir. Does the NHRC consider cyberbullying in its ambit to prevent the general public from this?
I think it's an excellent question. We see lots of instances of cyberbullying, violation of privacy in the cyberspace. Internet has become a space free for all. People, morph images. People encroach on the privacy. People use the photographs, etc., that are available. And there are gangs operating now. Apart from the individuals who use it, they call sometimes it revenge porn. It's also becoming common. There are frauds whereby your money is stolen away. We see that digital frauds are increasing in number. So all in all, government has become now very much aware. I think it's in the process of finalizing legislation also. A bill is perhaps being processed. But NHRC is absolutely very, very senior. And we have, in our recent meetings in Geneva, requested the international community to look at cyberbullying, cyber crimes, cyber frauds, digital crimes in a very serious manner. NHRC also held recently a national conference on preventing child sexual abuse material, because you see that a number of such violations of rights of children, they are abundant. And you can never say that children have consented to such images of their themselves. So this is a menace. This is destroying the societal fabric and putting wrong ideas in people's mind. So a cyber world has given rise to new kinds of crimes and mental instability for many people. There is cyber addiction. There is internet addiction among people. And youth are wasting their time 10 to 15, 20 hours out of 24 hours. They are becoming zombies. So this is, we are looking at a very serious scenario in the coming years. NHRC has been very serious about this and wishes to continue the right to internet, right to freedom on internet, right to privacy, all the rights that are in the real world available to us should be available in the cyber world. It cannot distinguish saying that this is only virtual. Today, virtual has become real. So we're very serious. NHRC is very serious about it. And I assure you that if there are any violations among the listeners, among the student community, do take up such matters with NHRC. We have a very open mind, in dealing with such issues firmly.
So, but is there a legal framework on which you will work when taking care of these issues?
We will see whether there is a right to, privacy is affected, for example. We will see the fraud has taken place and somebody has cheated someone. We will see whether somebody has caused somebody mental torture. We'll see if somebody's reputation has been violated or destroyed by somebody. So these are the real life issues and they're now happening. See, cyber is only a medium. It doesn't change the situation much.
Sir, would you like to say anything to conclude this session for our viewers?
Who are the viewers? Students primarily, or all audiences of all ages?
Audiences of all ages from the legal fraternity mostly.
Okay. So I would like to appeal to the legal fraternity that be aware of human rights. The concept of human right is about good governance, is about keeping our values alive and implementing them. Duties are as important as the rights. We have to look at those who are disadvantaged classes and people amongst us. Those who are weak have to be taken care of. Persons with disabilities will have to be dealt with dignity. The access of those disadvantaged people has to be improved. Less privileged people have to be brought in the mainstream. Everybody must have, the fundamental rights as well as, right to food, right to shelter, right to employment, right to water. And the SDGs, if you have seen the SDGs, they are almost like everybody's right, including right to culture and right to environment. So we are moving into a major space on human rights, and it is the duty of every person in the legal fraternity to do whatever he or she can to protect the human rights.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today and enlightening us on such an important issue.
Thank you very much, Ananya, and all the best to you, and my best wishes to all the audience. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
And to our audiences, thank you for watching Verdictum. For more such content, subscribe to our channel and download the Verdictum app on iOS and Android to keep yourself updated with authentic legal news.